Hey loves, welcome back again to my channel. My name is Jenny. So today's video is the drafting of this beautiful style. As you can see on the screen, it has a cowl neckline and a stylish back opening. So if this is what you want to learn, don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video, and also turn on the notification bell so that you'll be notified when I post the sewing part of this tutorial. And I want to say thank you to my new and my returning subscribers. So let's get into it. Welcome again, soulmates. So guys, the first thing you are going to do is to rule out your starting line. So it's very important for you to rule out your starting line. So that starting line, I'm going to place the half of my shoulder measurements. Then I'm going to come down by ½ inch. So when you come down by ½ inch, that is going to serve as the shoulder slope. Then from that ½ inch, come down by your armhole length, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. I'm going to place my tape on the actual shoulder measurement, and I'm going to mark 10 inches for my bust point and 16.5 inches for my half length. So then I'm going to just connect it together. Go ahead and connect the points together. So whatsoever you have on the shoulder part, go ahead and input it on the chest line. Then you draw out your armhole length like this with a straight line. So after doing that, on the chest line, I'm going to divide my bust measurement by 4. Then when I divided it, I got 9 inches. Then I place it on the chest line and also on the bust points. Coming to the waistline for the front, I'm not going to have a dart at the front. The dart is going to be at the back. So if you are using a stretchy fabric, there will not be any need for you to use a dart both at the front and at the back. So what I did next is I'm going to measure what I have at this armhole length. Then you divide it by 2. At that point, you are going to go in by ½ inch. Then after doing that, go ahead and connect your armhole curve like this. So I'm going to be using my pattern master. You can actually use your free hand. So after that, I'm going to label this the chest line, the bust point, and the waistline. I went ahead to mark out 3 inches for the neck width. Then for the neck depth for the front, I'm going to mark out 1.5 inches. Then I'm going to curve it out like this. We are actually not going to make use of this neckline. So after doing this, I'm going to connect my shoulder slope like this. And that is all for the drafting of the front pattern. So let's go ahead and draft out the back pattern. So I'm going to rule out this line, which is going to serve as the demarcation between the front and the back. And I'm also going to extend the lines, the waistline, the chest line. So after doing that, I'm going to go in by 1.5 inches. This is going to serve as my zip allowance. Then I'm going to go ahead and connect the point together, and I will label it the zip allowance. So after doing that, I'm going to place my tape like this. You can see on that zip allowance, and I'm going to mark 3 inches for the neck width. This neck width is not constant. Then I'm going to mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2 on that point. You're going to add ½ inch to the half of your shoulder measurements. I also did the same for the front. Then I'm going to curve out my neckline like this. And after that, I'm going to connect my shoulder slope. The next thing I'm going to do is to place my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. Then after that, I'm going to curve out my armhole. So the armhole for the front is different from that of the back. So for the back, you don't have to go in by ½ inch. Just curve it this way. Then coming to the waistline, I went ahead to divide my waist measurement by 4 and I placed it there. So like I said earlier, I said the back is going to have a dart. So I went ahead to place my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 on that part, which is the bust span. I'm going to connect the points like this. So I'm going to mark ½ inch at the both side of the line. So after that, I'm going to replace the dart intake at the side. So after doing that, I'm going to connect the points together like this. So coming to the zip area, I went in by 1/2 inch to avoid any bulginess. Then I replaced it at the side. So you can see what I'm doing like this. Then I'm going to reconnect it back again to the chest line. So also to the zip area, I went ahead to connect it back like this. So this is what the back is looking like. So the neckline, I'm going to take it all the way into the zip allowance. So after that, at the neck depth, just come down by 1.5 inches. Then from that point, go in by 2 inches. So this depends on how wide you want this part to be. So I'm just going to go in by 2 inches and I'm going to take it all the way to the zip area. Now, still on that point, that 1.5 inches, I'm going to come down by 7.5. So now this depends on how long you want the back opening to be and how tall you are. So I'm going to make use of 7.5 inches. So on that point, I'm going to go in by 4.5 inches. So this also depends on how wide you want the back opening to be. So you can go in by 6 inches or 5 inches. Then from that point, I went up by 1.5. So then I'm going to connect from that upper part to that 1.5. I marked close to the chest line. Then on this part, you are going to have like a bit of curve to give it that beautiful shape you see at the back of the style we are following on the thumbnail. So guys, this is all for the drafting of this pattern. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. So just watch closely the way I'm cutting it so that you'll be able to cut yours. Right here, I'm going to cut off this part because we are going to be adding our hook and eye at that part. It's not going to have a zipper at the upper part. So guys, these are the patterns for the front and the back. So coming to the front area, I'm going to slit this part open like this on the chest line. So when you are doing this, you have to also be careful so that you don't cut it out totally, you understand? So you're just going to cut it out like this so that it will be able to have the freedom of movement. So coming to the back area, guys, now if you're using a stretchy fabric, you're going to go ahead and cut open these darts. Then you are going to join it together, you understand, to close up the dart. But for me, my fabric I'm using is not a stretchy fabric. I'm using a duchess material, a thick duchess material for this style. So I'm going to be making use of the darts at the back so that it will give me that beautiful shape. So I went ahead to close it back again with my sellotape because I'm going to be making use of it. So if you're not going to make use of it, then you have to cut it out and close it back on the pattern. So let's go ahead and cut out the skirt parts. So for the skirt part, guys, I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into 4, as you can see right here. So you can see that this part is opened. So that open part is going to be the center back and this closed part is going to be the center front. So for the zip allowance, I went ahead to measure out 1.5 inches. So it's 1.5 inches I'm going to be using for my zip allowance. So when you're cutting the front and the back together, this is how to fold your fabric. So now I'm going to be taking all my measurement from the center front at this part. So just go ahead and divide your waist measurement by 4. And I'm going to place mine here. Then I'm going to add my stitching allowance. So you all know that the front is not going to have a dart. And I also went ahead to rule out my starting line. Please always make sure you rule out your starting line. Then on that waistline, I went down by 8 inches. So this is going to serve as my hip line. So if you are of an average size, you can use 7 to 7.5 inches. Then if you are so tall, you can make use of 9 inches. So on that hip line, I went ahead to place my hip measurement divided by 4 on that line. Then I added 1.5 inches stitching allowance. I'm going to connect the points together like this. So just go ahead and connect the points together from the waist to the hip. So I place my tape on the waistline, then I'm going to determine the length of the skirt. So to get the length of the skirt, go ahead and subtract your half length from your gown length. So guys, I'm so sorry, I didn't know that the camera was not capturing what I was doing. So what I did, I went ahead to input my skirt length, which is 28.5. Then I added extra 2 inches stitching allowance at the hem part. So whatsoever you have on the hip area, I have 12 inches. I'm going to subtract 1 inch from that, and I'm going to place it on the hem part. So after that, go ahead and cut this out. So guys, after cutting it, like I said the back is going to have a dart. So I'm going to add 1 inch at this part. Then I'm going to connect it all the way to the hip line, and I'm going to cut at that part. So after doing that, coming to the waistline for the front, go down by ½ inch. So we all know that the waistline at the front is not straight, it's kind of curvy. So just go ahead and make a curve at that part like this. So you can see just for the front alone, then I'm going to cut out the waistline like this. So after doing that, I'm going to notch the zip allowance, and I'm going to remove the back, and we are going to work on the front. The front is not going to have a dart, so I'm going to cut out this dart placement. You can see this dart that I added for the back. I'm going to take it out from the front. So after doing that, at the waist area also, I'm going to cut it out like this. Then please always make sure you notch the midpoint of your fabric. So this is it. I'm going to cut lining for the skirt parts. So coming to the pattern for the back, I'm going to add all my necessary allowance, and I'm going to transfer it to my fabric. So for the front, I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into 2. So when folding your fabric, please make sure you fold enough so you can see there is enough space after the pattern. It's going to have a cowl neckline effect. So at the center front, I went ahead to place it at the folded part of my fabric. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure how deep I want the neckline to be, the cowl neck effect. Now this depends on you, so it depends how deep you want this to be. You can go as far as 8 inches, 9 inches, 10 inches, depending how deep and how exposed you want your bust to be. For me, I'm going to make use of 6 inches. So you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to just place it like this. So make sure that tip at the upper part is touching the 6 inches. So after getting it, I went ahead to secure this with my pin. So you can see what I'm doing. So after doing this, go ahead and mark that neck width. Just make a mark at that neck width. So from that neck width, I'm going to measure down to the chest line. So whatsoever you have, you are going to take it to this other part, to the center front like this, and you're going to mark it also at that part. So this will enable you to have a straight line. So just go ahead and connect from that neck width like this, as you see me doing, all the way to the center front like this. So you can see. So after that, I decided to add ½ inch to the cowl neck effect because I want it to be a little bit deeper, but I don't want my bust to be exposed. So I decided to add extra ½ inch. That is making 6.5 inches I used for the cowl neck effect. So after marking the 6.5 inches, I went ahead to secure it again with my pin, just like this, so that it will not move from that 6.5 inches. Then I'm going to remark the neck width again, and from that part I'm going to measure down again to the chest line. Okay, so whatsoever you have there, I went ahead to place it right at the center front. So you can see me doing it again. Please, whenever you're working with your actual fabric, you have to be sure of all the measurements you are taking so that you don't come out with a very bad result. While drafting the pattern, you realize that there was no seam allowance, so I'm going to place all my seam allowance right here on the main fabric. So at the upper part, that is the shoulder part, I added 1/2 inch. I wanted to eliminate that sharp part at the neck width, so that's why I went ahead to reconnect it again. Then to the armhole part, don't add any allowance because we have added it already while we were drafting on our pattern. Then at the side, I added 1.5 inches. Also at the bottom part, go ahead and add 1/2 inch to the bottom part. Then you are going to just cut this out like this. So guys, after cutting, this is the front and the back pattern. As you can see it on my fabric, I added my necessary stitching allowance, as you can see. So thank you guys for stopping by, and don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video, and also turn on the notification bell so that when I post the sewing part, you'll be the first to be notified. So thank you. See you there in the sewing part. Bye.